I'm going to be discussing my MEPs experience. If you've watched my previous video, you know that I've been discussing a lot of different options. I made the decision to go enlisted. Next up was MEPs. So if you do not know what MEPs is an acronym for Military Entrance Processing Station. So that's pretty much where you process. So your ASVAB, so all your tests will be done at MEPs, as well as your medical testing and physical component. So I initially went to MEPs on March 11th, Wednesday, March 11th. I'm not sure if this is for every branch of service, but I do know that this is for the Air Force. So your MEPs experience is typically 2 days. Where I'm currently residing, my MEPs station is 5 hours away. So the morning of MEPs, I did a quick brief with my recruiter. He basically went over some of the questions and information that's going to be provided to me at MEPs, and just to make sure that my responses do meet up with what they're going to be asking me at MEPs. So that lasted probably about 30 to 45 minutes, and I was shuttled to MEPs. Keep in mind, you do not have to drive to your MEP station, especially if it's, a distance. Obviously, I was not about to drive my car all the way to MEPs unless absolutely needed. So yeah, I was shuttled. Now, typically when you are shuttled by a veteran, so someone with prior military service. So once you get to MEPs, you do go through security. You do have an overnight bag, so they'll just search that real quick, and then you will go into the actual MEPs sign-in station, and you will do, I think they'll ask for your social security card and your ID. I think that's it. But just take your birth control. Take your birth certificate just in case it's needed. So yeah, you'll just give that to them, and then they'll do your fingerprint and photo ID. Keep in mind, your fingerprint is going to be used throughout your whole MEPs experience. You're going to use it to sign a lot of information. You're going to be using it to sign in and out of stations that you go to throughout MEPs. So after that, they escorted us to the testing area so that you can take your ASVAB. Just go in there and take your test. I did have to take my ASVAB, so I took that, and then as soon as you complete that, you're leaving. So at that point, then you are escorted to the hotel. It's actually someone from the hotel. Your shuttle driver is done for the day, so he's not taking you anywhere else. He'll pick you up the next day when you leave MEPs. We head to the hotel. I kind of got there late, so it was around I made it there probably about 5. Took my test, got to the hotel around 8. Maybe it was 7:30. Not really sure, but you do have to go through a briefing. You just watch a video. In the video, it's going to tell you exactly what you're going to be going through when you go to MEPs. So it's just literally step by step. Very simple video. It's not completely boring. And then after that, you can go have dinner. You pretty much can do whatever you want at that point. Obviously, keep in mind the rules and guidelines. But yeah, so I just called some family members and my husband and whatever, and ate dinner with my roommate. I did have a roommate. Some people don't have roommates, but I did have a roommate in this case. And then we went to sleep. We literally went to sleep. Now, once we got into the hotel room, I should have noticed this, but I didn't. It wasn't hot at that point. But once I laid down, I noticed it. And it was after 10 o'clock. My roommate was already asleep. I didn't want to inconvenience her, so I kind of sucked it up. I cannot sleep when it's blazing hot. I just can't. So it was blazing hot. Terrible night sleep. I didn't even sleep really, but anyway, so there is a 5 a.m. wake-up call. So they will have someone phone you, and it's just like a little music playing, and that, is your wake-up call to get up. But I was up at 4:30. I do recommend showering before, just to save time in the morning, because those minutes fly by, especially when you have stuff to do. So my roommate and I left around, I'd say like 5:25, supposed to be down by 5:30. Then we had breakfast and we got on the shuttle around like 6, and then we headed to MEPs. Now, rewind all the way back to waking up in the morning. I called my husband and was just checking in with him. I immediately noticed when I woke up that my throat was a bit sore, but it wasn't like coughing or anything like that. It just was sore, and I knew that, you know, it didn't feel right. But it wasn't anything that was super alarming, so I just thought that it was like, okay, you know, it was blazing, so maybe that caused my throat to be sore. Whatever. He's like, okay, well, maybe it'll go away. Like, just continue about your day if you feel fine. And I did. So fast forward, we arrive at MEPs. Now, when you arrive at MEPs, again, you always have to go through security, especially if you are making your first time entrance. So they just go through all your bags. Yeah, that's pretty much that. And then once you actually go into the like station area where they'll call you up, and you know, if they have any additional questions for you individually, they'll do that then. But you lock all your stuff away in lockers. No one can get in that room unless they're, you know, allowed. I do know at this point, they also asked if anyone had any visitors for their swearing ceremony. Just, you know, saying that you get to that point. And then, you know, everyone said whatever they said. Nothing else important happened at that point. You are then escorted to the medical testing area where you will then take your physical. You'll go through all your physical requirements, and before that you are given a folder, so you keep up with this folder all throughout your MEPS experience. It just has all your paperwork, your ASVAB scores, whatever else about you personally. First up for me was the vision test. Y'all, I was so nervous about the vision test because, believe it or not, my vision gets worse every year. I feel definitely gets worse. So I was like, oh God, I don't know what they're looking for, but let's hope this goes well. So it's just, if you do your routine vision exams, it's just like that, except it's shorter. So you go in, you do your colorblind test, and then you do all your little sequences for the actual vision test. Very simple. I could not save my life distinguish between an uppercase B or an 8. And I also could not distinguish between the letter Z and the number 7. So yeah, I felt horrible, but you know, it is what it is. I was automatically freaking out after that because, you know, the lady will write down on your paperwork, after you go through every step, they'll leave comment, they'll leave, you know, the results. And mine said failed, but it was in the box that said depth perception. So of course I was like thinking, oh my God, I feel like this is horrible. Like everything's gonna be bad, you know, from now on, but it wasn't. Depth perception is for people who are going up for jobs such as pilots. So people who need 20/20 vision need to be able to see everything. Obviously my job does not require that, so I was fine. Next up was the hearing test. Before you do your hearing test, they will take your blood pressure. Nothing too serious. Now I can say about the hearing test. Hearing test is a bit annoying, not gonna lie. You go into like this little booth, and I believe there are 4 of us, and you sit down in like little sections, and you put on these headphones. So ancient, oh my God, so old. So pretty much the test obviously is testing your hearing abilities, but it was so annoying because the sound sounds something like this. Beep. 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 And it gets like louder, fainter. It's just all over the place. So I was thinking that I was hearing someone else's, but obviously I'm not. I have headphones on, but it's gonna drive you a bit crazy, but it's only about 10 minutes, if that. Felt like 10 minutes, but so yeah. Once we got out of that, I was talking to other people, and they were like, yeah, did anyone else think that they were hearing the other person's headphones like I did, and they were like, I did too. So it's all a part of it. You're gonna think that, but just trust your abilities. And you hit the beeper every time you hear the noise, or hear the beeping noise, and that's pretty much your test. And then after that, we went and sat in a room. It was kind of like a conference style room. Everyone's sitting at tables. And at this point, you go over all your paperwork just to make sure it's correct and accurate, so that, you know, nothing's off or whatever for the next person that reviews it. And so it was pretty simple. I didn't have anything to correct, so I was just kind of sitting there. But in the middle of it, they did do your breathalyzer. So very simple. I mean, as long as you haven't been drinking, you're fine. Now, I can say one thing my recruiter did warn me about is Listerine use. So if you use Listerine in the morning, try not to that morning. Apparently it can affect your results. So try not to use Listerine if you just absolutely, you know, don't need it. But I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with like, why are you drinking it? You're supposed to spit it out. You're supposed to swish it around in your mouth and spit it out, but apparently people drink it. Whatever. After that, you take your blood test, or I took my blood test. It's probably a different order, but I'm not sure. But I took my blood test. Blood test is very easy. I don't like needles, but it was nothing scary. If you go to a routine checkup with your doctor, they take more blood than they do, and that's like, I think it's 1 tube of blood, so nothing too crazy. I know my roommate was like letting everyone go in front of her. She was like, God, I'm just so nervous. I can't do this. I'm just like, you're gonna have to. Like, it doesn't matter how many people go in front of you, you still have to go. But she was just like having some issues. Then you also take your urine analysis. You do take it while someone's watching you. I mean, they're not like staring at you or anything, but they are, you know, overseeing you to make sure you're not being shady or anything. That was very simple. Some people just can't pee in a cup like on command, so drink water, but I never have a problem peeing, so it's like, oh, we got this, we done. Like, it was super easy for me. And then of course they check for, you know, drugs and pregnancy and all that. Just a standard urine analysis. Nothing out of the ordinary. Super easy. And then after that, I go back into the big conference room, and we're just all at this point relaxing and chilling. You know, some people were able to do what they were supposed to do at the time that they were supposed to do it. For example, my roommate, she could not urinate when she was asked, so she had to drink water, and then, you know, it kind of delayed the process for everyone else because it didn't go as smooth as they were expecting, because some people weren't able to, you know, urinate or whatever. So she, you know, they were calling everyone like one by one, make sure everyone had what they needed and so forth and so on. So as we are sitting in the conference room, we're just flipping through the channels, all trying to figure out what we want to watch. I think we settled on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, so that was kind of a chill moment. At that point, oh, I forgot. I was taking my blood test. The lady, I believe she asked me something like, was I feeling okay? And obviously I was like, yeah, I feel fine. Like, I felt fine. I thought I felt fine, something like that. Or she was asking me, am I like feeling am I overheating, or do I feel fever? Something like that. And I was like, no, I feel fine. Like, I did feel fine. So that was kind of the red flag for me, but I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, okay, cool. Like, we're fine, you know? So as I was sitting in the conference room, the lady comes back in and she's like, Miss Monroe. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. Like, what you freaking on me for? No. But I was like, yes, ma'am. And she said, can you come with me? So went back into the room where we had our blood pressure taken and our hearing test was taken. And she put a thermometer in my mouth. And I was thinking, this is weird. She hasn't done this to anyone else. Whatever, I'm gonna let her ride. So she took my temperature. Temperature was 99.1. Now I know that the normal temperature is around 98.6. So I was thinking, okay, I'm not too off. And I asked her, distinctly remember asking her, is this gonna affect my MEPS experience for the rest of the day? No, you should be fine. Okay, cool. After that, she took me into the room where I had my blood test taken, and another man stood in front of me with the actual thermometer, looks like a little gun, and he pointed that at my forehead and took my temperature. Of course, it was 99.1. It didn't change from me walking to one room to another, so that was a bit bizarre, whatever. So he's like, all right, the doctor's gonna come in to see you, but probably gonna go home. Go home? For what? So I was pissed. I don't get pissed, but I was pissed. What do you mean I'm gonna go home? So doctor comes in, doesn't even look at me. Literally doesn't even look at me. Keep in mind, before he said that, he took, like, he was testing my breathing. He's like, let me listen to you breathe. I was like, all right. And he put the little stethoscope on my back, and he's like, all right, sounds good. Sounds good. Oh, left lung sounds a little muffled, but it might have been how I was holding it. What do you mean how you were holding it? Do you not know how to do your job? So I was like pissed at that as well. I was like, why? Like, who are you? But anyway, so the doctor comes in, she's like, all right, we're kicking you off the floor. Keep in mind, if you go to MEPS, you do not ever want to hear that come off anyone's lips. You don't, because that means you're going home. So I was thinking, kicked off the floor. What? One hell of a way of saying you're going home, like, okay. And so I'm like, well, why? And she's like, because you're sick. I feel fine. No, you're sick. You're not supposed to come to MEPS sick. Ma'am, I wouldn't come to MEPS if I thought I was sick. And she's like, no, you're congested. It's clear you're sick. You've been touching paperwork. You could be passing on potential germs. So what is going on in the world right now? The coronavirus. So I'm not stupid. I'm just thinking in my head, okay, that's understandable, but now you're making me feel like I have the coronavirus. So what? Tell me what it is and what it ain't, because now I'm pissed. I was like, well, ma'am, can you just tell me that you're trying to take extra precautions due to COVID-19? No, you're sick. But you wouldn't be acting like this if this wasn't going on. Like, my temperature is not 102. Like, give me a break. So she wouldn't give that to me, but I was like, whatever, it's fine. I did have her check my breathing again because I was not impressed by the guy that came in and thought he was doing a job. Like, I don't know what he was there for. And she's like, you sound fine. I was like, yeah. Well, the other guy said I sounded muffled, so I want to check that. So ended up having to go home due to COVID-19. So I was thoroughly done with MEPS at this point. I was like, you know what? Like, this is frustrating. This is so frustrating. I'm so mad. I don't have any words. So at that point, you had to sit and wait again. I was like, I want to leave. Like, can you hurry up, please? It's time for me to go home. And so yeah, you just have to like check out with the people, give them back your folder, and do a last fingerprint, whatever, and you're out. Get your stuff and you're done. I had to call my shuttle driver because at this point it was around like 10. He wasn't expecting me to be successfully completed until around 12, so I was a bit early, obviously. And while I was waiting for the driver, I called my recruiters, and I told them, and well, actually no, let me go back. I had to speak to my liaison, and he, signed off on his paperwork, and he's like, it's any other time they would have let you slide. I was like, I know, it's fine, it's just disappointing. He's like, it's all right, you'll get back in here and it'll work fine. Like, all right, cool. So I was waiting on my shuttle driver. I called my mom, called my husband, and then I called my recruiters. And I was emotional, because I felt like I just disappointed everyone, which really, that was just me being hard on myself. It's not a big deal. I couldn't help the results. If you're sick, you're sick. It's not something we asked to be. So I was emotional. My recruiter was like, wait a minute, are you crying? And I was like, yeah, but like, I don't cry in front of people, hate it. But he could hear my voice cracking. So he was like, are you crying? I was like, yeah, you told me not to do anything to get disqualified. You didn't get disqualified, you're sick. You'll make it next time, it's fine. Like, all this craziness, they were looking for a reason to send you home. I was like, yeah. He's like, they're just paranoid. I'm like, yeah, good point. Like, you need that little pep talk. So at that point, my shuttle driver arrived and headed back home. And I don't hate to say it, but it's like, the doctor was correct. She was. My throat was not hurting any longer, but I think it was like a little step letting me know, like, all right, your body's gonna put you through some hell right quick. Because the whole trip back home, my nose was running. It wasn't like any sneezing or anything, but my nose just wouldn't stop running. I was feeling a little feverish, and I just wasn't myself. So I had a common cold. As soon as I got home, I medicated, and I was better within like 2 to 3 days. So I felt fine. It was just really bizarre because I felt fine. Literally, I had not been sick in months, and it was crazy. I just think it was a lot of stress, probably anticipation, and it all just got to be too much, and my body just couldn't handle it. But anyway, so at that point, the doctor told me to come back in a week. They extended it to 2 weeks, obviously. For one, a fever is one of the main symptoms of COVID-19. So I got where they could be paranoid and trying to take extra precautions. Totally got it. But it was still frustrating to have to come back. And I was so close to being completed. So I had to wait around 2 weeks. And there was so much going on within those 2 weeks. First, I was not able to travel by the shuttle. Second, I was gonna be shuttled, but if I had a temperature when I arrived to the hotel or MEPs, then I would not be able to take the shuttle back, so I'd be completely stranded. My husband's also in the Air Force, and he was put on a restricted period of not traveling beyond 2 hours. So I was gonna be pretty much stranded. So it was a lot of chaos going on, but I was able to go back on, I think it was 25th. I was actually supposed to be going back literally 2 weeks in advance from when I left. And they said that, but then it switched from 14 days to the 15th day. So I couldn't go back until that 15th. So I had to leave on a Thursday. So they pushed me back a day and come back on a Friday. So that was a little frustrating as well, but I was able to get there. And the difference between that trip was I didn't have to take my ASVAB, so I just went straight to the hotel. Now, keep in mind, so many things are changing every day with COVID-19. So once we got to the hotel, we had a temperature check. Your girl's temperature was 97.1, so I was fine, I passed. But you do have to do like a little quick questionnaire. It's just asking you if you've left the US within whatever amount of days, if you've came in contact with anyone with COVID-19. Obviously all those answers should be no. And then they do your temperature and then you're fine. I did have to watch the intro video, which was fine. I didn't have to go back to the briefing, which was at like 8:30 that night, because I had already went through that. So thank God. So I literally just went to my room. They didn't let you eat around people anymore. They just had like room service to your room. You had solo rooms, so no roommates, which was awesome. That was pretty much it. I literally rested the whole day. Didn't come out of my room anymore. And I was in the same exact room and the air conditioner was not working. So I had to have maintenance come and fix that. And then I was good on like having interactions with people. So I just slept the rest of the day until the next morning. And the next morning felt fine. It was the same process. We actually did eat breakfast together, but it was like they had them in little to-go boxes. So we weren't like in a dining facility or anything. At that point, we head to MEPs. You just sign it with your fingerprint if you've been there before. If not, because a lot of obviously people that went with me were, it was their first time being there, so they had to do everything that I had to do my first trip. So I did a lot of like waiting that day because I was done with everything and they were trying to get everyone else in. Thankfully, the group that I was with the second trip was not as big as the first trip, so everything kind of went really fast. All I had to do was my movements. If you know what the duck walk is, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you are going to MEPs and you don't know what it is, look it up. There's videos online. It's pretty funny. It's not hard by any means, but it's funny. So you have to do all the movements. They just kind of want to see how your body's moving, and if you have any, you know, issues with being able to move your body. Because I know some people have been diagnosed with scoliosis at that point and don't even know about it. So hopefully that's not anyone's case. But yeah, so got through that, and then I had an interview with my doctor, and it was the same doctor, of course. I did thank her because she caught it before I even knew that I was sick. So I do appreciate that. It was just frustrating, and when you're in the moment, you kind of just, you let everything get to you, and you're just like, fuck, I want to leave. Like, I thanked her, and you know, it was a good little moment. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I had to do. So my MEPS experience really was like, the second trip was about like 45 minutes as far as like physical wise, and then you do like some interviews with your liaison. You do have to do full fingerprints, so you do that with someone separate, and then they'll go over like your contract. And I actually appreciated that interview. If you don't know a lot about anything, that is the time to ask your questions, because the lady, for me at least, explained everything like perfectly. She explained like life insurance, how that works, how your contract works with your 4 years, but you know, 8 years as well, like how that connects, and you know, like your obligations, and what else did she discuss? Anyway, she discussed a lot, so pay attention to that. A lot of beneficial information. And then at that point, you go and sign some more things with your liaison. I was the only one there for Air Force. I believe both trips, actually. Majority of it's Army National Guard. A lot of high school students joining. So I didn't have to really wait. And then, you know, you take your oath of enlistment, and that's your swearing ceremony. No one was allowed to have visitors, of course. It's another difference that was made. I swore in with another guy. I believe he was joining the Marine Corps. It might have been Army National Guard. So that was kind of cool. But it was just me and him, and then my liaison was in there to take pictures for my recruiters, and then the guy had his recruiter in there, which was cool. So yeah, got in. Now I can say the best thing that I heard all day from anyone at MEPS was, you have been medically qualified to join the Air Force. Like, those words were like best thing ever. So thank you, God, for allowing my MEPS experience the second time to go smoothly, and for me to be able to get everything done, you know? If you have any questions about anything else, please feel free to leave a comment down below. If any of your MEPS experiences have went like mine, leave that down below. Yeah, any questions, leave them down below. I will respond. I hope this video helps someone. If you are looking to join, if you are going to MEPS, if you are thinking about what MEPS is, or thinking about what it, you know, could be like, there it is. It's not that intimidating. It's a little frustrating because it is pretty, like, in the moment, like, very strict, but it's for a reason. They don't want you to, you know, go to BMT and you're all out of shape, or, you know, you got something wrong with you. Like, be honest, and the process will go smooth for you. It will, for sure. It's like sunlight on my face. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. My next video will most likely be on my ship out date and my job. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys then. Bye, and good luck at MEPS.